Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant. Today I'm going to be covering this book, Dragon, by Stephen Brust. This is one of the books in the Vlad Taltos series, the Dragaran Empire setting. I wanted to do this one because in a previous video about the series, I mentioned that each of the clans they're almost hardwired to be kind of like the creature for which that clan is named. And this one is for the Dragon clan. Now, in the first book of the series, you are introduced to the Jareg clan, which is the one that Vlad Taltos is part of. The Dragarans have these different clans, and then the Jareg are kind of left over. They're not a clan that has a unique trait or not a trait per se, but like a drive to do or behave in a certain way. And so Vlad Taltos is able to purchase, or his father was able to purchase a title in that clan as a lesser human. And I'm going to say lesser and greater human because the folk of the Dragaran Empire, these clan folk, are functionally like elves in any other setting. They are incredibly long lived, 1 to 2,000 years old. They're also incredibly tall, kind of like Tolkien elves. These ones are in the ballpark of 7 to 8 feet tall. They're magical, are able to do like a kind of magic, a sorcery in a way. Whereas the lesser humans are more like y'all and me, an actual human. And they don't have modifications or clans that drive them to behave in certain ways. They are broken up into many different nationalities and cultures, but they are generally called Easterners by the folk of the Dragaran Empire. And Taltos is a human that practices witchcraft, which is the kind of magic that humans learn and teach each other. And he has a familiar, a psychic familiar, with that being the Jareg that is usually on the cover. This isn't a dragon that's on the cover, but the familiar of Vlad Taltos. Now, this is one other thing. When I saw this cover, I was researching Vlad Taltos online, and it turns out that the art that was on all of these covers, which showcases that creature, is wrong. The wings are mostly correct, but instead of having 6 limbs, 4 legs and 2 wings, they're kind of built like birds. They have 2 wings and 2 legs. They don't have that extra set for like quadrupedal motion. So they're kind of like not pigeons per se, but Jareg are seen as kind of pests in a way and are numerous, but this one, so they can be a bit indiscreet when used by Vlad Taltos, but this one in particular has a psychic connection that they are able to talk back and forth. They are implied to all be that intelligent, it's just that some are more driven by instinct than the ones that are bonded with a witchcraft user. So the main difference between dragons and other clans is that dragons are kind of hardwired to be tacticians. They're hardwired to be generals. And so, like, when the Empire has a dragon clan leader, that dragon clan leader is usually one that is going to war and conquering new lands. The dragon clan are generally warriors. They disregard stealth, they disregard assassination, poison, anything that isn't honorable battle. So when they fight, they usually duel. And we see that in that first book, Jareg, that I discussed months ago. And in this one, Dragon is about them going to war. And specifically, Vlad Taltos is hired by the general, who is the same character that he had worked with in the book Jareg. In this case, he is hired to kind of do subterfuge because though generally the Dragon Clan doesn't like personally participating in that kind of warfare, subterfuge, poison, sabotage, that kind of thing, they understand that it has a purpose and that that purpose is usually good for shaping the battlefield in your favor. And so Vlad Taltos is hired because he can be trusted by this Dragon Clan general. So in addition to that, Vlad is attached to kind of an elite trained unit. So they mention at one point that the Tekla are the... I may be having the wrong clan. I think it's the Tekla, though, that are the lowest clan, the most numerous clan, and the Tekla are the foot soldiers. In Bannerlord terms, because I've been playing a lot of Mount and Blade Bannerlord lately, in Bannerlord terms, this would be like the militia spearmen and the militia crossbowmen, though I'll get to that in a second. The Dragon Clan are like the elite. They're the noble trained units, whereas the Tekla are the peasant-based units. So at one point, Vlad questions why only a small force is engaging the enemy, and one of his comrades says, the Tekla, we're not the main battle lines. The Tekla are down there. They're the ones that are going to be dying. We are the ones that are doing the big actions that change the battlefield. Here it is. The exact page I was going to look at. 134 to 135 has an interesting exchange. I see. Then are most of these people volunteers? All of us, of course. The units with conscripts have Tekla in them. Oh, why did you volunteer? I'm attending the Terex Academy, and one needs experience in battle before mastering theory. I guess that makes sense. Why are you? Why am I here? It's personal. And then, to continue along, you joined the army because you're mad at the guy whose army we're fighting? Yup. She stared at me. You know, you probably won't get a chance to, what do you Jareg call it? We usually call it killing, I lied. And yes, I know that, but I can be useful here. You're nuts. Thanks. But I mean that in the nicest possible way. And then this is one of the good conversations in this book for really getting into why the Dragon Clan and the Jareg are different. At that point, we were joined by Aelber, to whom I was then introduced. He seemed friendly enough and agreed to modify my satchel and make me a collapsible stool. I said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" "Yeah, tell me how to win at Siang Stones." "Run the game, don't play it." "I'm serious." "So am I. It's a rigged game. In the long run, you can't win unless the guy running the game is an idiot. If you're really, really good at it, and you concede if you don't score well on your first couple of throws and double up every time you have an edge with your flat stones, and you get very good at tossing, you'll only lose a little, very slowly." "Why is that?" "Because in, say, a 10-50 game, you're playing 12 orbs for the stones, and you're risking 50 orbs if you lose, and if you win, you only get back 10 plus 50, not including doubling, which works out even in the long run. So every time you play against someone as good as you lose 2 orbs. If you play against someone better, it's worse, and if you play against someone not as good, the luck factor is almost always greater than the 2 orbs you're losing, usually about 4 coppers worth." "You've got it figured that precisely?" "Yes." He shook his head. "What about personal games, with no one running it?" "That's different. Then if you're better, you should win. So how do you play?" "Go for the big scores with your flat stones and use the round ones at the end to knock off his big scores, and if he gets a big advantage on the first round, surrender your 10 and start over." I like to use my flat stones to knock out the other guy's early scores. Then I can get lucky with the round stones. Yeah, a lot of guys play that way. And I double when, well, sometimes you can just feel that you're going to hit big. Then in his mind, Vlad is thinking, sure you do. And then he says, I don't know. I don't actually play a whole lot. Well, it seems like it works. And then again in his head, he's thinking, I know exactly how you play, sucker, but didn't say it. Then he replies, how do you do overall? I'm about even, or maybe a little up. I almost said it with him. The consistent losers always say, about even, or maybe a little up, but I just nodded and didn't say anything. Maybe I'll try it your way, he said. Let me know how it works. I will. So why are you here? Here, you mean in the service? Yeah. He was quiet for a while, then said in a low voice, I've always dreamed of fighting under Sethra Lavode, that being the general of this side of the fight. Okay, I said, I can respect that. And so that's a good kind of look into mindsets of these clans, because though Vlad isn't a Jareg by bloodline, he is a Jareg by mindset. And Jareg are the criminal masterminds. They're the ones that run the black markets. They're the ones that run the whorehouses. They're the ones that run the gambling dens. And so what he was describing was this kind of game where you put money down and you're trying to best the other person in a game of skill and tactics. The dragon player is thinking, this is a game of tactics, everyone is being honorable, and I'm losing because I'm not good enough. When, as Vlad explains, you're losing because it's a con. You are being conned just by playing. And as he says in his mind, like as he thinks, the consistent losers always say about even or maybe a little up. He could have said that line with that Dragon Clan member because he knows how those people think. And once he knows how those people think, he can manipulate them to get more money out of them. And so that's one of those situations in this book where Vlad is going about things with a different mindset, a very conniving mindset. He is there to affect the battle in a different way than on the battlefield. His battlefield is in the enemy's caravan, it is in the enemy's cookpots, it is in the enemy's tents. He's assassinating, he's poisoning, he's breaking their wagon wheels. And so all of these are not the way that Dragon Clan members fight. And then in addition to that, and this is one of those things that, like I said earlier, I was going to get back to that pin about the militia crossbowmen. The Dragaran Empire, because it has sorcery, because it has such large, physically powerful people, the only kinds of ranged weaponry that they ever really used and developed were javelins and slings. So at one point in time during this book, they discuss a type of stick that you can launch from afar using another stick and some string. What they're describing is that the human mercenaries they're fighting are using bows. Vlad doesn't know what a bow is because he grew up among the Dragaran Empire where bows are not a thing. The humans, the Easterners, the lesser humans, those people know what bows are and use them in war. The Dragarans don't. So their skirmish tactics are set up a barrier, set up a trench with a wall on the front side, a wall of mud and dirt, launch javelins when the enemy gets close enough, and then when they get closer, if their morale isn't broken, you go stab at them with spears, you stab at them with swords, you fight hand to hand. They don't have this mindset of using bows because they never needed to. But those bows would go a long way towards the tactics of a fight. You could use further ranged combat to affect the battlefield, but they don't do that because, in a weird way, they're also kind of like the Greek phalanxes. Using archery was seen as cowardly. Using cavalry was seen as cowardly. All that mattered was the strength of men versus men in those spears formations. So it's a really cool insight into the way the people of this series fight and what makes Vlad Taltos' style of fighting so much different from the people around him. So I bought this book at the Broadway Book Mall in Denver. I bought this for about $4 and I really liked it. I would read it again. I should read it again, honestly. And the whole series is fascinating, and I love the way Vlad Taltos' style of thinking and fighting differ from the people around him because they're different species. And that's a really cool experience, I think, and what makes this kind of series really fun. So, yeah. My name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant.